Good morning, traders. I am Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Wednesday, September 25th. Markets are coming off another session of record highs with another day of modest gains, but gains nonetheless. Yesterday during regular trading, the Dow added 83 points or 0.2%. The S&P 500 picked up 14 points or 0.25%, both hitting record levels. The Nasdaq advanced 100 points or more than 0.5%. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes. Good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're lower. Not a lot. 0.05. Just flat to lower. I guess really is the call right now this morning. I wouldn't be surprised if we pull back a little bit today, but we'll have to wait and see. There is a lot going on though today. I mean, like in terms of the sentiment, it's cautious. Market made another new high yesterday. You're not seeing it follow through with a big gain today. You're seeing some weakness overseas, so you got to be a little cautious. China did, on the other hand, they're continuing to provide some, the central bank, late last night, early this morning, I think it was done like, 10 o'clock, around 10 o'clock, the central bank cut their 1-year loan rate from 2.3% to 2%. So, that's interesting. Meta, we got that Meta event going on today, the Meta Connect event. Zuckerberg's supposed to speak today. I see that their presidential candidate Harris, she's going to be making a major economic speech today in Pittsburgh. That's kind of on the tape. Department of Justice, the DOJ, they're said to be investigating German firm SAP and Accenture. Micron's earnings coming out after the bell today. That's something to keep an eye on. But we're kind of taking a look at overseas action. We're looking at the DAX. The DAX is down 62 points or 0.33%. We're seeing, we are seeing some action, positive action in London, though. The FTSE's up 0.3% or 25 points. We're seeing some gains in the mining sector. I mean, they are positive. The CAC is lower by 15 points or 0.2%. Consumer confidence data out of France came in at 95.1, beating the expectations of a 92-point reading. So that's good to see. Last night in Asia, we did see most of the indices were up. The Nikkei was down. I mean, it was down about 0.2% or 70 points. I mean, the yen remains steady. Markets do anticipate another rate hike will happen by the end of the year. They're really focusing on December for that rate hike, though. Hong Kong finished up 0.68% or 128 points. Shanghai jumped 33 points or 1.16%. I mean, as I said, in China, nearly all sectors advanced. The yesterday's aggressive stimulus action was positive, and today they did the additional rate cut. That's positive. Hong Kong, you saw some good gains in the banks and in tech, so that's positive. But let's just keep an eye on oil, because oil is, down today. It's down, about 1.5%. There's a lot going on in oil because, OPEC came out and said, peak oil demand isn't even on the horizon. That's what they said yesterday. I don't know if that's true, but the API data came out and they showed that stockpiles fell by 4.33 million barrels. That's typically bullish for oil prices, yet you're seeing oil prices pull down 1.5% this morning. So later today, we get the EIA oil stockpile report. That's going to be the big one. That's going to be the trigger for either, this move to recover or fall down even more. So keep an eye on 10:30 a.m. for that report. But that's what I have for you in terms of market update today, Emily.
And Bill, as you mentioned, a lot going on today and really pieces of the puzzle across the board, economic events, other headlines. You even mentioned earnings, and we're going to dive into some of the details here throughout this show, the stories behind the stocks. We're going to start first with earnings action. Bill, give us a rundown of what we should be watching there.
Starting off with Progressive Software, ticker PRGS, Paul Richard Gray Sam. These guys beat by 13 cents. They did it on higher revenue. You look at the stock, it's up 5.16% this morning. KB Homes, ticker KBH, they missed by a penny, but it was done on higher revenue. Stock's down 5.98% this morning. Upcoming this afternoon, here's the big one. Micron Technologies, ticker MU, Michael Uncle. EPS is $1.10. Expected move 9.57% when they release. Jeffries, ticker JEF, John Edward Frank. Their EPS is 80 cents. They got an expected move of 6.64% when they release this afternoon, Emily.
And Bill, you just mentioned Progressive Software that beat by 13 cents on higher revenue. That was the pick of the day yesterday. By the end of the show, we are going to check in on that. So stick with us through the end of the show. Now we're going to get to economic events. Again, keeping track of these day in and day out, really getting a good feel for the health of the economy and clues from the Fed on what may be happening next. So Bill, what is going on in terms of economic events?
Well, at 10 a.m. we get the new home sales. Expectations are for them to come in at 700,000 K for August. July's data was 739K. Okay, but then at 10:30 a.m. we get the EIA oil stockpiles report. That's going to be a difference maker. We got to keep an eye on that one. In terms of Fed speak today at 4 p.m. we're going to hear from Fed Governor Adriana Krugler. She's a smart lady. She's pretty bright. You got to listen to her. Yesterday, we did hear from Fed Governor Michelle Baumann, and she feels that she's in agreement with her FOMC colleagues, but she really did prefer a 25 basis point cut at last week's meeting. In her remarks, she said, "In my viewpoint, the upside risks to inflation remain prominent. Global supply chains continue to be susceptible to labor strikes, increased geopolitical tensions, which could result in inflation effects on food and energy and other commodities." I think that's a little weak of a weak statement, but okay. She wanted a 25% basis point cut, not a 50 basis point cut. Understandable. But today, keep an eye on the new home sales and oil stockpile reports. They're going to be the key economic reports for today, Emily.
Bill, what's fascinating about your comments there is that not only are you looking ahead to what is going to be important today, but you're also making note of what came out yesterday, comments from the Fed that you're really gathering the future state and clues that have already been released. You're able to watch all of this, to watch what's happening now, to look ahead to what's coming up, and to get a historical perspective, all by using your NewsWare. You have alerts set up for these different types of events like earnings, economic events, Fed speak. You also have alerts for things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, and other catalysts. You can look at stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Listen, I'm doing a quick data check and I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 12 higher, I got 16 lower. I'm looking at my FANG stocks, they're all lower. In terms of specific sectors, the banks are higher, drug stocks for the most part are gaining, retail stocks are weak, semiconductors are mixed to lower, cybersecurity stocks are lower. So we got a little, there's a reason why the S&Ps are falling this morning. But we're talking about some of the news behind the headlines, that's hitting the tape today. And one of the ones that just recently came out just a few moments ago is on Google. Google files an EU antitrust complaint against Microsoft. We got to read more about that, but Google files EU antitrust complaint against Microsoft. I also see with Google, Wiz is in talks about selling existing shares at a valuation between $15 to $20 billion after abandoning that deal in July to be acquired by Google for $23 billion. Meta Connect event starts today. Zuckerberg starts to speak at 1 p.m. That's one we got to keep an eye on. That could be something. Apple iPhones wait time shorter than last year, according to UBS. Moving over to Dow Jones 30 stocks this morning, what do we see? We see Boeing. They're extending their timeline to allow union the opportunity to vote on their new proposal. Microsoft is investing $1.3 billion in Mexico to expand its cloud and AI infrastructure. Salesforce.com, ticker CRM, Charlie Richard Mary. They're going to be acquiring data management firm Zoomin. Terms were not disclosed. What else we see here? Merger news. Oh, well, this is one. Smartsheet. I've been talking about Smartsheet for a while. I said get in under 61 at any time. That's really one you want to be. Ticker SMAR, Sam, Michael, Apple, Richard. Well, this morning it was announced it's being taken private by Blackstone and Vista Equity Partners in an all-cash deal for $8.4 billion or $56.60 a share. Smartsheet. I was saying, 51 really was my entry price. You look at the stock this morning, SMAR. Where's it trading? It's trading 55.50. Ooh, that was a nice move. Smartsheet, ticker SMAR. That was free money. We're talking guidance news. Stitch Fix, ticker SFIX, Sam Frank Indy X-Ray. They see full year 2025 revenue coming in 1.11 billion to 1.16 billion. Street estimate is 1.31 billion. That's a big downtick for them. Progressive Software, ticker PRGS, they raised full year 2024 EPS view to 4.75 billion to 4.85 billion. Street estimates at 4.75 billion. That's on the low end. That's an uptick. Shareholder meeting, Flutter, ticker FLUT, Frank, Larry, Uncle Tom. They're having an investor day today. Starts at 1 p.m. NTAP, Network Appliances, Nancy, Tom, Apple, Paul. They're holding a 2024 Insight Conference today. And let's not forget about the Meta Platforms Meta Connect event that starts today. That's a big one. No real buyback news in terms of Catalyst costs. Catalyst calls full truck alliance. That's ticker YMM. This really happened late yesterday, but Citibank opened up a positive Catalyst watch on the stock. Yellow, Michael. But that's what I have for you about news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk Pick of the Day. Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
I'm going with Jefferies, ticker JEF, John Edward Frank. Earnings are out after the bell. EPS is 80 cents. Expected move is 6.64%. Yesterday's call volume, 1,100 calls versus put volume of 1,022. Positive. Open interest, 23,121 on the call side, 20,664 on the put side. Positive. Major brokers are positive on the stock, and I'm seeing price targets being raised. That's nice. I reread last quarter's earnings release. I think, the CEO is pretty positive about the forward guidance, so I do like to see that. In terms of an entry price, listen, the bid offer is wide. We got 57 to 62.80. That's a $6 spread. Realistically, it was trading, it was trading a little over 62 this morning, but I got to think it's going to open around 62. So if I can get in under 62, that'd be great. Willing to pay up to 62.10. But I do think that this is that's a decent entry price for the stock, and that gives me the ability to make that gain. So Jefferies is my pick of the day, ticker JEF, John Edward Frank on an earnings play, Emily.
Bill, an earnings play with Jefferies today, as you just told us, and yesterday's pick of the day was an earnings play as well, as we pointed out earlier in the show. Coming up, we're going to do a recap on that pick of the day, so stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
DraftKings, DKNG, they're trading higher in sympathy with Flutter Entertainment. Flutter Entertainment outlines long-term growth plan and up to a 5 billion share repurchasing program authorization. Bam. That's why you pay attention to these events. NVEE, NV5 Global announced a 4-for-1 stock split. MDT, Michael David Tom, Medtronics announced his partnership with Siemens Healthineers. Jacob Sigurd J, selected by the New York MTA as a consultant for Long Island Railroad projects. Roku, ticker ROKU, stock price target raised at Citi. Better outlook for possible profitability. Uber and WeRide announced a partnership. Let's see what else we see happening here today. Oh, AMTM, Apple, Michael, Tom, Michael. They're going to be replacing BBWI in the S&P 500 on September 30th. BBWI is moving to the S&P 600. Novo Nordisk CEO was in front of the Senate yesterday. The senators are beating the crap out of the guy because he was because of the high cost for the weight loss drugs. But the fact of the matter is they pay kickbacks to the pharmacy benefit firms. So the lower costs aren't always passed on. So the senators beat up the CEO of the drug makers. Yeah, but the drug makers have been very clear on this for years. The issue is that they pay kickbacks to the pharmacy benefit guys, and those kickbacks don't get pushed back into the lower prices. They're going after the wrong door. They're entering the wrong door every time. The senators really don't put in the time and effort to really try and figure out what the real issue is there. Southwest Airlines, ticker LUV, holding a shareholders meeting tomorrow. Elliott Management is continuing to gain control of that company. SAP, Sam Apple-Paul, German software developer, is being investigated for overcharging government agencies, according to the Department of Justice. DoorDash and Uber Technologies, a law requiring food delivery companies to share data with the restaurants, was declared unconstitutional by a New York City judge. And that's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, plenty to be watching today. And before we get to trading today, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day. I pointed it out earlier in the show was Progressive Software. As we pointed out during your earnings report, the company did report earnings. They reported a Q3 EPS of $1.26. As you told us, that was 13 cents better than the analyst estimates of $1.13. Revenue for the quarter came in at $179 million versus the consensus estimate of $176.1 million. During your NewsWare alerts, you did give us that full year EPS view. I'll add that the company sees a full year 2024 revenue of $745 to $755 million. That was versus the consensus of $730 million. There was a number of price target raises on the stock this morning following that earnings beat yesterday. Bill, how did your call work out?
Winner. I mean, listen, look at the numbers. Stock opened up 56.97. I did say under 57. Actually, I got in at 56.60. But then the stock fell down to 56.30, and then it just kind of moved higher, and it did close at 57.15. But after that earnings announcement, the stock actually hit a high of $63.57, and then it settled back into around 60. You look at the stock this morning, it's trading $60.54. I mean, opened up yesterday around 57. Today it's trading 60. It's a $3 move. That's it's almost 6% move. You got to appreciate that. Progressive Software, PRGS, was a winner. Hey, thankful.
I can hear the upbeat sentiment in your voice on that upbeat pick there. Getting a nice win, more than 6%. We will certainly take that. And we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Jefferies pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Bonney, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.